On December 2, 2022, the United States Air Force showcased its new stealth nuclear bomber B-21 Raider for the first time at the Palmdale factory in California. This is the first new bomber for the U.S. military in 34 years, and upon the debut of the B-21, it attracted global admiration but also triggered nervous reactions from the Chinese Communist Party. The official media immediately engaged in a war of words, claiming that the B-21 is nothing more than a paper plane and its performance is not even as good as China's H-20 bomber. Mark, the host of the military channel Mark Time and Space, stated that the unveiling of the B-21 is a significant event for the U.S. military. It marks the first time in over 30 years that the United States has developed a new bomber. For the U.S., maintaining the strategic bomber superiority is crucial, as it is an essential means of strategic deterrence. Mark also stated, "I think on one hand, in recent years, China's expansion of weapons and military power, including the development of some new weapons, gives the impression that China's military technology is rapidly growing, including the appearance of stealth fighter jets like the J-20. Although China has always promoted it as an unparalleled stealth aircraft, it seems to feel omnipotent and devalues American aircraft, including the F-35, portraying them as poor quality. Then it claims the B-21 is like a paper plane, and so on. In reality, praising oneself in this way and belittling the military equipment of other countries is problematic. Who invented these things first? It hasn't figured out for itself. In this process, it is evidently, how should I say, a form of whistling in the dark to boost its own morale, like this. Originally, its level is not very good, and if its equipment is also not good, and if it says something discouraging about itself, then it is completely hopeless." Exploring Time and Space channel host Joe Ziding stated, "Up to now, technology like the B-2 is unique to the United States, with no other aircraft like it globally. As for the so-called H-20 by the Chinese Communist Party, it is essentially a legendary aircraft because it only exists in legends. Up to now, there may not even be a model on the ground, and its aerodynamic layout may not have been finalized. The B-21 has already been unveiled, and 5 more B-21s are in production. However, the so-called H-20 announced by the Chinese Communist Party in 2016 has had no substantial information. Every year at the Zhuhai Air Show or during some event they say, the H-20 is coming. But just like Crying Wolf, it still hasn't come. Personally, I believe that when it comes to the so-called H-20 by the Chinese Communist Party, from having an actual prototype to its maiden flight, there is still a considerable amount of time and distance to cover. Unveiling the deceptive development of China's J-20, spending $7.5 billion on 8 old Russian engines. How did they turn $40 billion into a knockoff fighter jet and create national pride? The Chinese J-20 stealth fighter, as per the official announcements of the Chinese Communist Party, has always been a symbol and pride of the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. Therefore, we often see news claiming that the J-20 has shot down 17 enemy aircraft with zero damage to itself, while American F-22 and F-35 aircraft crash and stop flying. The J-20 from China has become the world's safest 5th-generation fighter, according to such news. Let's start by discussing the development cost of the J-20. The total development cost for the J-20 is 40 billion RMB, including 23 billion RMB for the airframe development of 8 prototypes, 7.5 billion RMB for the engine development, and 6 billion RMB for the development of onboard equipment. Additionally, there are miscellaneous costs, such as weapon equipment, totaling 3.5 billion RMB. So, this approximately converts to around 6 billion USD. In comparison, the American F-22, which always crashes, costs 28 billion USD, and the development cost of the F-35 is a staggering 55.2 billion USD. This makes people wonder why China can produce such a powerful fighter jet with so much less money. Do you remember a German journalist mocking China's system last year, saying that China's contribution to world technological innovation in modern times is almost zero? Even the design of the exterior of the high-speed train, which is touted as a symbol of national rejuvenation, was done by an Australian company. Is it appropriate for the rejuvenation of the nation to let others design it? However, China's reverse research and development capabilities, or integration capabilities, should not be underestimated. Reverse research and development may sound very high-end, but in simple terms, it is disassembly and replication. Normally, positive research and development involve designing blueprints based on needs, testing, discovering issues, and improving until final production. However, reverse research and development involves taking products developed by others through positive research and development, disassembling and measuring them to create blueprints, and then reproducing them. Now let's talk about what integration means. Integration is essentially paying someone to design, integrating the strengths of various companies, and finally assembling and sticking your own logo. Regardless of whether the J-20 is considered a fifth-generation fighter or whether it can beat the F-22 and F-35, I think, as a Chinese, you should first pay attention to some questions. Spending 7.5 billion RMB on 8 old Su-27 engines is a joke in the eyes of the Russians. You spent 7.5 billion to buy 8 engines from me? It's really a sweet deal for Chinese taxpayers. Who told you Chinese people don't have the right to question the government? Simply put, these rulers haven't focused on accumulating research and development experience and nurturing research and development talents. Instead, they've spent money trying every means to obtain permissions, steal technology, and engage in whining and dining. At the same time, in this process, they've managed to gain a lot of benefits for themselves. As for innovation and research and development, that's Russia's business. Clearly, it's self-integration, but they insist on calling it independent design and development. They occasionally deceive ordinary people and leaders, and that seems to be acceptable. The key question is, when the war breaks out and others block these things, how will your J-20 be produced? What if Russia decides to block you? After discussing fighter jets, let's take a look at the current situation of China's other warships. Why do Chinese nuclear submarines have a turtleback while the United States does not? It's a symbol of being 20 years behind. Nuclear submarines have always been regarded by major powers as the trump card for strategic deterrence. However, it's not easy to fit large missiles into submarines. Due to the limited diameter of the pressure hull of nuclear submarines, when the missile is too long, a streamlined fairing, similar to a turtleback, can only be added to the upper part of the submarine. The reason why American nuclear submarines don't have a turtleback is that the United States can manufacture single-layer pressure hulls with an exceptionally large diameter. Combined with more advanced and smaller-sized missiles, there is no need for a turtleback. Since China cannot produce single-layer pressure hulls with an exceptionally large diameter, its Type 094 nuclear submarines have to adopt a double hull structure. Additionally, due to the excessive length of Chinese missiles, a turtleback structure is necessary. Fallen into its own trap? British media reveals classified documents. China's nuclear submarine did indeed have a fatal accident in the Yellow Sea. 55 officers and soldiers perished. According to the Daily Mail in the UK, based on confidential documents from the Royal Navy, a Chinese Type 093 nuclear submarine experienced a serious accident in the Yellow Sea, resulting in the death of all 55 officers and soldiers. The fire on board the Type 075 amphibious assault ship was caused by welding or burning in the interior compartment. Fire breaks out on the Type 071 amphibious dock landing ship. Chinese aircraft carrier paint peels off. Two huge cracks discovered on the Fujian ship, and the Shandong ship goes missing for repairs several times after its maiden voyage. Chinese submarines washed ashore by heavy rain. Video clips circulating online mockingly call it an amphibious vehicle. Peeling apart the bottom of the Liaoning aircraft carrier, the world's largest face-saving project, a $70 billion refurbishment of a rusting carrier. The war is over, but the aircraft carrier hasn't arrived. China's Navy Day showcases the aircraft carrier's activation, requiring 48 hours to start, criticized for taking too long. The is severely outdated, requiring 48 hours just to start. According to Hong Kong media citing Free Asia Radio, it takes at least 2 days to heat 60 tons of water to steam to achieve full power. The report points out that while conventional power carriers have lower construction costs, they have become a common problem for China's 3 carriers. The U.S. Nimitz-class aircraft carrier only takes 2 hours to reach full power, and France's nuclear-powered Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier can fire all engines in just 1 hour. China's aircraft carriers not only have a long startup time, but also lag far behind Western technology in terms of endurance. Mocked by the outside world, the war is over, but the carriers have yet to arrive at the battlefield.